Live. Okay. Afternoon, everybody. My name's John. I'm talking to you from Nairobi in Kenya, and this is the latest session on our series of dialogues looking at issues around discrimination. And up to now, it's been between Ukraine and Poland and Kenya, and now today we're blessed to be joined by India as well. So welcome aboard. Maybe just to start us off, let's do some quick introductions. You can just say who you are and maybe what is your interest in this topic. Why did you come either to the session today, or why did you come back if you've been in previous ones? And welcome to Nancy. She's just popped up. So I'm just going to start on my left with Anupama, please.
Okay. Thanks, John, and hi, everyone. My name is Anupama. You can call me Anu because I think it's easier to remember. So I have, just to give you a quick background, since this is my first time here, I have almost, say, 18 years of work experience, primarily working with corporates, in the corporates, and doing a lot of work in the space of counseling and advertising. We got, actually Deepa and I started In Harmony a year and a half back with the interest of working towards empowerment of women. We both realized through our work experiences that we were very keen to look at this area and see how could we help women maximize their potential at work as well as in the social space, in their homes, etc. As we started our work, we also realized that a lot of it is not just about women, it's about diversity from every aspect. And before we get into the social, into the community, starting with the corporate is a lot easier. So that's how In Harmony started. Some of you have been to our website and have seen the kind of work that we do. Like I said, we are just a year and a half and we've got lots of dreams and plans to do effective work here. A little more about myself. I love life. Every year I take on some new activity to do. For the last 2.5 years, I was never a sports person and I've taken up running. So I have done my 2 half marathons. I'm training for my next one. I paint, I read, and anything new, I'm ready to try one agenda in a year. So that's about me. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you, Anu. And nice to meet you again, but this time
yes,
online.
Nice to meet you, John, again. Yes.
Svetlana, do we need some translation? Can you help us here?
No, we don't need translation. We can speak English.
We're okay. Everybody's okay with English. All right, good. Okay, let's move on to Deepa then. I'm just moving across my left. Deepa, hello.
Unmute? Yeah. Oh. Can you all hear me? I've just unmuted.
We can now, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So hi everybody, my name is Deepa and I'm at the moment in Bombay, India. My background is that I've done a lot of work, about 15 years of work with both the non-profit, the community sector in India as well as the corporate sector. And Anupama has already kind of given you a background about In Harmony and how we kind of started off together. My interest in this topic is because as a woman, I see a lot of discrimination that takes place in this country and also otherwise. So to look at women empowerment at one level, definitely, and also look at other forms of discrimination that occurs and become a catalyst in helping people recognize the pitfalls of discrimination. And in terms of my interest areas, I love to read. Writing is another passion of mine. So that's about me. And thank you, John. Nice to meet you here.
Yeah, thanks, Deepa. Thank you so much. So glad you're both there.
Okay.
Let's move on to Sergey. I think Sergey is represented by IC Media. Hello, Sergey.
Sergey is hiding out.
He doesn't want to talk. Sergey,
Добрый день.
please say hi.
Я рад вас всех видеть. Мы с
Hi, I'm
удовольствием
very glad to
проведем
see
этот
you
час
today.
вместе с вами.
And I hope we will spend 60 minutes together. It will be fun, 60 minutes to spend with you.
Мне очень интересно положение женщин в Индии и как они влияют на власть.
I am really interested in power of Indian women and how this power influence of Indian government.
Спасибо за встречу.
Thank you very much for meeting with you.
Yeah, thank you, Sergey. He's our technical guy, but he's also there taking part as well, so that's great. Let's move on to Nancy. Hello, Nancy. Nancy, are you there? We can see the picture, but we can't hear the words. Maybe you're on mute. Okay,
She's
we'll
not
probably come back to
she's-
Nancy.
Yes, she's not on mute.
Is she on mute?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to Oksana. We'll come back to Nancy.
Everybody, I'm Oksana. I'm Ukrainian, but now I'm living in Warsaw. And actually, this topic very interesting for me because I think we are, for example, actually me, yes, I have a lot stereotypes about women in India because usually we think that women in India must to be at home, yeah, cooking, clean everywhere, and I don't know, hear what her husband must to say, do what husband to say. But for me, it's really interesting because it's culture India, culture of India. It's very interesting for me. Culture, yeah. It's very interesting for me too, and how it's new life, yeah. It's democratic, yeah. All these things, women in power, for example. Now all these new things can live in India, country when we have old mental, yeah, and religion laws, законы. Законы, да? Yeah, thank you. And for me, it's very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Oksana.
And anyway,
Okay,
Oksana initiated this meeting with you guys.
Yes, yes, it was my small wish.
Oh, okay, thanks.
So it's come true. It was about
Yes.
to come true.
Спасибо.
Okay, Alexander. Hello.
Hello, everybody. I'm from Warsaw. My name is Alexander. Assamir in India is one of the most biggest countries in the world, and everything interesting about human rights, about women rights in India is interesting for everybody, I think so. It's a well-spread nation all over the world, and we can meet a lot of Indian girls and men here in Poland and in Ukraine. So it's very interesting to get news right without any censor. That's all. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Alexander. Svetlana, over to you.
Hi, I'm Svetlana. Now I am in Kyiv, in capital of Ukraine, and I'm happy to talk with you because I never been in India, unfortunately, and before. But I visited India and knew about India through Soviet Union time Indian movie. And I know I met in this movies a lot of beautiful, really beautiful Indian women, and we learn culture of building relationship between men and women from this Soviet Union time movies. And after that, certainly I met very power Indian woman. It's Indira Gandhi, and it's the most well-known woman in the world. And it seems like she made a revolution inside of India. And I think, it's my opinion, from I don't know, maybe 5,000 kilometers from India, that lady was amazing. She was very, very nice. And right now I have a lot of contact with Indian people, and I know that a lot of my colleagues from Institute Culture Affairs Global Organization help Indian villages, and I learn from them a lot about Indian life. And I know that there are a lot of problems in India. And for me, like Oksana said before, I have a lot of myths about power of women in power. Because I don't believe in women's power. I believe in women. I believe in institute of women. I don't believe in really in politics and power. And what I found in internal of Indian women, I feel that you are very strong, you are very kind, and you try to do the best to your like your environment. It's my feeling. And about me, I like connect with people. I like help people very much, because if you help people, you help yourself.
Great, thanks.
Thanks, Svetlana. Let's try Nancy again. Hello, Nancy.
Oh, hi.
Oh,
Can
good.
you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, my name is Nancy Biwott. I've been working in the inclusion sector for 3 or 4 years now. Yeah, and it's a passion of mine. I work for an Australian organization, but even with that, it's a passion of mine. I've worked with John on a couple of social inclusion trainings for young people mostly. Yeah, and today it's quite exciting to get the India perspective in the group. Yeah, we can't wait to hear more on what you're doing, on how the women representation is. Yeah, looking forward to the discussions today. Thank you, John.
Okay, great. Thank you, Nancy. So, Anu and Deepa, no pressure, eh? But we're all
Tell us now, John.
So anyway, I just wanted to give a little bit more background, just so we're on the same page, and maybe others can add to that as well. But basically, we started this about 6 weeks ago or so, and the initial idea was to focus a bit on training, but it became a dialogue, which I think we're all happy with, and we've been looking at different issues around discrimination. If I remember right, we looked quite broadly at first, then we looked quite a lot at conflict issues and how that leads to discrimination. Then we moved into gender-based discrimination, and I think the last 2 or 3 weeks we've focused particularly on women in leadership or women's representation generally. Now I guess I happen to be talking about my experience in India, and everybody was interested to know more, and I said the little bit I could, but then I thought it's better to get some people who've got more details and more information. So that's how we came to expand the group, and I think it's really exciting because we've got 4 different countries involved now, or 5 if you include my nationality. But I think that's great. So we can only progress from here. Svetlana and Oksana and Nancy, is there anything you want to add to that maybe just so the newish people are fully on board? Anything else they need to know?
I want to add a little bit that we try, it seems like our dialogue looks like we try to create flow of thinking, and we don't know what is the result will be in the end of our activity. But I believe that if people create flow of thinking, result will come very fast.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, yeah, thank you. Anything else to add, Nancy, Oksana?
Nothing from this end.
Nothing from this end, okay. Oksana, you're okay?
Yes, I'm okay, and I don't know what to say. It's everything what Sveta say. Yes, it's enough.
Yeah,
and,
no, it's fine. Thank
and
you.
one
Yeah,
more
yeah.
very important thing I would say is that all of us learn and practice English now very well, which is one of the best way to train our English, because six weeks ago, for example, Oksana was very shy to talk in English, and now she is really like fluent in English. And for sure,
so that's an added benefit.
Right now. We have real result right now.
So that's an added bonus. Yeah.
Okay, so
Sure.
I lived in Russia for 3.5 years. I learned Russian, and so I'm going to look at this platform to practice my Russian then, because I'm seeming to forget a lot.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. It's very nice, because when we have Russian-speaking people here, we try to do two languages conversation, and it's very good way to keep your Russian in good shape.
Yes. True.
Okay, so let's go over to Anu and Deepa. You know, maybe you could just tell us a little bit more first, maybe about the work you do, and you know, I know you gave some introductions, but you know, what is it that made you get into this work and drives you with the work, you know, and that would probably lead us into a broader discussion.
Okay, so John, the way we had actually thought, I mean, we can always start with that, but we'd also thought is whether we should start with giving some idea about, you know, women in India, the kind of past growth and how it is today, how they're represented today, and then come to our part of what we do in as part of In Harmony. Would that work?
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So,
yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
Okay, so to give a brief background, I think some of you did touch. First of all, I must say, very nice to see that all of you are so interested to know about India and about the women in India. We both, Deepa and I, will do our best to, you know, satisfy your interest in this space and also to answer all your questions. So to give you a brief background, like some of you had touched on this, women in India, actually, if you look at ancient times, they were very powerful. Families, you know, valued their opinion. In fact, even today we have many goddesses, you know, goddesses to whom we pray, who are women goddesses, and they actually represent wealth and prosperity. However, in spite of, you know, having this kind of a position over many centuries, the power of women kept getting deteriorated, you know, from a position of power or having influence. Let me not say power, having influence on decisions, on influence on how kingdoms had to be run. Slowly, you know, things like child marriage started creeping in, widow remarriage was stopped. Parda system which came in, basically Parda is wearing a burqa, which came in when the Mughals invaded India. So I think we had different rulers over a period. They brought in their own culture, and our own, you know, Vedas there were changes, and because of which the power of women kept getting deteriorated. So from a position of influencing, they became like what I think Svetlana or Oksana, one of you said, you know, they were at home and they look after the family. So they were put into that position. The other thing was that there were two reasons also for this, or a couple of reasons. One of them is, of course, women moved into a very, our society moved into a patriarchal system. which is male dominated, and women after marriage became the property of the husband. So rather than being an equal partner, they became a property. And we started having dowry system where when a girl got married, then there would be money exchange which would be done, not exchange, money would be given to the boy. So with all these things, the women's position became more like, completely dictated by what the man and his family members started saying. Further to this, we also had a system where, because women are the only ones who give birth to a child. So because of that, they go through a certain confinement period where the 3 months, when they have to nurse the child, it's difficult for them to step out and do hard labor. So because of this confinement, even women who had a certain say in what's happening in the families, the men started taking over during that period, and then that kind of an influence never came back to the woman. So these are all various things which happened over the centuries, because of which, now we are talking about discrimination of women, and what needs to be done in that space. Having said that, over Svetlana said, we had Indira Gandhi was our first woman prime minister. So and she was, I think, globally, if you look at it, she was the second woman prime minister. The first one was from Sri Lanka. So we had Indira Gandhi, we had a first woman president, we had a woman speaker in our parliament. We have currently we have a woman who is head of the opposition party in the parliament. So we do have women who are in certain positions of influence, but I think more than influence, they have in a position of certain power, and they can actually make things happen. So in our when we look at our work, while we do have these few handful of women at these positions, a large majority have to really struggle to make their presence felt and to exert their rights. And our work, we started, when we started our work, we thought, should we be looking at from a community level, or should we look at corporate? And we decided to go with corporate primarily because both of us have a lot of corporate experience put together. Like we have similar kind of experience. And I've worked with large organizations in my past organizations, and Deepa, same thing applies to Deepa. And we said we can make a difference here. Once corporates buy in this concept, when they start looking at getting more women to work in the organizations, we will then start working with them to go on to sponsoring community work. And that's how our work focuses currently with corporates. In the corporate space also, in the last 2 decades, there's been a huge shift. Earlier, predominantly, you would find mostly men in a typical corporate job, and women would mostly be in jobs like teaching, or one of community service, or in in some of these government administrative jobs. Today you find many women who are in a corporate job at par, doing the same kind of work that earlier men would be doing. And with this, there are certain recognition which has come. The government has recognized that there is, and companies have recognized that there is a strong business case here, because various research findings did come up with this report that when you have women working in corporates across all sectors, and especially at leadership, those companies showed higher profits, buying power in the society increases, and so for the economy it makes a lot of sense when you have women also who are working. What the government has done now is a few things which they did bring to support this whole transition. One is that they introduced this in 2013. They brought we have a Companies Act which actually looks at how corporates function in the in India. So they brought a rule that all the companies which are registered on the stock exchange, they have to have at least one woman on the senior most leadership team. The second thing they did was, while most Western countries have a discrimination law which also looks at prevention of sexual harassment, we didn't have anything. While we have a discrimination law in our constitution, we didn't have anything which looked at prevention of sexual harassment. So they came up with a law where every company had to implement a prevention of sexual harassment. Nancy, you want to ask something? I just...
No, sorry.
Should I continue, or do you want to...
I was listening. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
We hear you. And I have a question, if it's possible to ask question.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, and you said a couple times about leadership, women's leadership. And when you say these two words, women's leadership, what does it mean for you? What is different between men's leadership?
So for me, I look at it currently at a leadership position, because you have certain powers of influencing. Can you use those powers to make the kind of change that we require to take place in India? I look at leadership primarily from that point of view. Can you include the whole nation, whether it's men and women, to support, and to make sure that we as a country, we grow, everybody in the country grows. So while you're a leader, but can you look at it from every perspective that's possible? So that's clearly what I look at as leadership.
Thank you. And what are you do, or what you do if two women with strong leadership meet each other? And I don't know what happened in India, but I know what happened in Ukraine for sure.
What happened in Ukraine?
Happens? Tell us.
Yeah.
And what do you think? That I heard, and because I'm strong, and everybody says that I'm leader, and when I mean the same women like me with the same power, and everybody thinks that we have jealous to each other. I'm not agree with this position. And what happened in India?
See, some amount of it may be there, and that is not because of women. I think it happens whether you're a man or a woman when you are in the same level. But we have very strong women leaders forums also, which support the cause. Deepa, you want to add something? I can see you.
No, I just want to, can I just add to your previous question that I hope helps address this one. When we talk about leadership, one of the things that we do is, of course, hierarchical leadership, about being in a position of influence and being able to, help in decision making of the organization. But there's another very important piece that we look at, which is self-leadership. Because one of the things that we work with the women that we work with is to make them feel empowered and to really help them break the stereotype of the patriarchal society that we've been part of for decades and centuries. So, self-leadership is another very important part of, the way we view leadership of women itself. And, if there is self-leadership, then that sort of helps to address this perspective of jealousy, because an individual is empowered to at the most deeper level.
Thank you. And
I've also got sorry. No, I've also got a comment and a question. I'm really interested in the economic argument, because I've heard this a couple of times, that actually, and now I'm thinking that you're working with the corporate sector, and with the corporate sector especially, it's the bottom line, it's profit, so
yeah.
I'm wondering if you've done any research on that, or if you've got documentation on that kind of proves that actually it makes sense economically as well as ethically or morally, to ensure that women are well represented throughout a company, and linked to that, how has been the experience of, how receptive have the companies that you've worked with been to the work that you've been doing?
John, could I add a little bit about
please,
your question? And I read article a couple days ago, and it was article with research, influence of women in power, like influence in economical development of country. And the lady who writes this article says that it's no difference. it's no difference. Like she wants to say that women, representative of women in parliament or in government, totally not influence on economical development, and nothing changed.
Okay. I think, so first of all, to John, your question, so we, as In Harmony, we haven't yet done an impact study with companies to see whether there has been an impact on profitability or the bottom line. However, there have been other organizations, couple of most of them actually, which are international organizations, which have done research work, and we could share some of those papers with you, which are available freely. So we can share some of those links which talk about the fact that it does impact the bottom line. Now it's like a simple thing. I mean, because I don't have a data to support it because we haven't done it, but I can just give you broadly, like you know, in our 1 billion population, if you look at it, like half consists of women, and we have like almost 40% which are women of the labor force, which are women. Now, if women are working, they're also bringing in a certain amount of spending power into the the economy. They also, in fact, there was a study which one of the articles I read, where the women are bigger influences on the kind of cars which are being purchased. Okay, they decide in the family that which car should be purchased for the family. So you know, those are also decisions, and the woman is able to make it because she's knowledgeable, she's educated. We have like 46% who are coming out of, who are graduates, okay, of the women who are graduates. Second, when they're working, they have a certain economic power because of which they're able to influence decisions, which was not the case earlier. So if you look at it from a practical point of view, yes, it does impact on the way the economy works. Also, they bring in a different, when you have so many women who are consumers, in the corporates, you need to have women who understand the women who are going to be in the marketplace. So it, you know, from that point of view also it makes sense. And the other thing is that, you know, in diversity is when you can get to be more creative, when you come out with innovative solutions. Otherwise, you just have a certain one-track way of thinking and coming out with solutions. So these are our arguments. In terms of the actual research which has been done by some of the other organizations with the numbers, we could share those links with you. Deepa, do you want to add anything here?
Thanks.
Same thing, you know, that the research, of course, has kind of proven that there is a lot of, profitability of having more women, especially at senior levels. Also, the trend in India is really changing, because one of the things that's happening in India is, you know, there is a dearth of talent, which is becoming a very big thing, especially with IT companies. Due to which more and more of these organizations are actually looking to hire women, and in fact also have recruitment reservations for their organizations to be able to tap into this talent pool, which until 5 years ago was a talent pool that existed but was not tapped into. And those organizations have also kind of, proven that having more women on board on the recruitment, panel and across various levels does make a difference to the way the organization itself functions. Because there is innovation, there is creativity, and also simply because there are more number of people to serve its clients right now. So yeah, so the economics of it is data which has already been published.
Okay, and what about payment?
I think it's
payment for women. Value of payment for women. Because usually, I have a question about payment for women. That you said that a lot of companies hiding women to more and more hiding women right now. And what about value of payment? Is it the same with men payment or different?
No, there is disparity, and that's an area which is being addressed. And I think this is not just India, this is a global phenomena where there is disparity in payment. In fact, I was just reading recently something on Ukraine also, and how the work practices, and there is discrimination as far as corporates and recruitment is concerned, job positions and the payment are concerned. So I think this is a global phenomena. It doesn't it's not just an India matter, and which needs to be
And
looked.
is it global phenomenon of owners of company, or global phenomenon of women's habits or our nature? Don't ask more money.
Svetlana, could you just repeat that? I didn't get your question. Could you repeat, please?
And I want to understand why it's happened, the situation, why women don't want to ask more money from owners of company. And I try to understand, is it our habit or nature or something else?
So I think a large part of it is our nature, and our social conditioning. The way, the kind of messages women get and the kind of messages men get, a lot of it is driven in that. So when Deepa was talking about the self-leadership concept that we work on, it primarily focuses on this, that, within us we have so many, while we know we deserve it, there are various obstacles we ourselves put in the way of reaching it. Very difficult for women to go out to a supervisor and say that I deserve this promotion, I deserve this position, and why are you not giving it to me? A lot of it's again a large part of it is from the social conditioning, is our understanding, and this is based on biases and stereotypes, etc. Deepa can add a little bit more on this part.
Yeah, so one of the biggest messages that the women here at least receive is that you don't really need to have a career. The career is more for a male, and right from our school days, college days, our primary focus that is our success really is determined by who we marry and how much the groom to be is really going to be able to support you. And that is a very, very important message that, we kind of learn to live with, which now Indian women are breaking. So a lot of stereotype because of this message that, money is not required for you. Also, not just that, there is another thing that happens in organizations where, if a woman comes from a wealthy family, okay, and she gets an equal pay as her male colleagues, very often she's told, why do you need the money? Your husband's anyway making so much money, or your father is making a lot of money, and there are a lot of jokes around that really happen. And, men and women both participate in these jokes of the lady in question. So there is a lot of messaging that happens, really.
So women
it's very interesting. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, John. No, please go ahead.
No, I'm just fascinated by the examples and relating them to other countries. But as I'm the facilitator, I won't talk too much. But I'd like to point the question to Ukraine and to Kenya. How are some of these issues different or similar in your countries? Or Poland actually, because we've got people living in Poland. But some of these messages that we receive as we're growing up, that they're talking about, those behaviors and attitudes and stereotypes, how different or similar is it in your countries? Maybe to Nancy and Oksana and Svetlana.
I want to say that we are very close to world rating, women in power. India has 105th and Ukraine has 100. India 104th place and Ukraine next 105th, and it seems like we are really similar. And it seems like we have the same law, like 30% of women in representative in parliament, I think. And I understand right now from our conversations that we have really similar attitude and in habits, and maybe the same smiling also, and the same jokes. It seems like we are similar. That's why we are very close to like we almost we are together in one bed in the world rating.
Yeah. Thank you. Oksana, Nancy,
is like most Indian women are black, and in our region, a lot of blonde women.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah, I
Thanks.
also agree
Nancy, Oksana?
Yeah, from the Kenyan perspective, I think I also agree about the early messages that men get and women get, and which contribute to the status quo and expectations that the communities have of women. For example, I think we were with John in an event where we had that there was a survey conducted on, so the population of Kenya, we have 51% women, 49% men. And there was a survey that was conducted to find out why do we have very few women leaders, and yet the voters are predominantly women. Yeah, and as the survey finding was that most women felt, in fact, most people felt, going into politics is a really bad thing for women, and especially for good women. So most people thought they would rather not vote for women to be leaders because that is breaking their marriages and breaking up their families. Yeah, it's like, so it's sort of, the attitude sort of work against women progressing. So clearly, it seemed like the community had no problem with women leaders, but they felt that politics was just too dirty for good women. So there's no need to throw them into the deep end. Yeah, so in agreement that most of the early messages and attitudes against women really are a barrier to progress of women. What I wanted to also find out from the case of India is, having had such strong women leaders in India, what are the perceptions of most of the people on women in leadership? Do people feel women cannot perform as well as men? What are the perceptions people have? I think John will also sort of connect with that question because they also had a prime minister who was a woman. Yeah, did those women lead to positive perception of women in leadership? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, please hold that question. I want to give Oksana a chance first.
No, I have just maybe one or two things here about this, because before I'm living in Ukraine, and now I'm living in Poland, and just 4 months it's nothing, but actually I'm seeing a lot women in power here, actually in parliament, and local politics, and I'm thinking if you want to be like women in power or leadership, it's any problem here. It's like you have a good chance, to be a woman in power with. Светлана, помогите, пожалуйста, с поддержкой.
We have social. I think that Oksana wants to say that there are in Poland works very well social lift for women in parliament. It's open position. It's not nobody close. And women, if women wish to be in parliament, it's no problem. If not, nothing happened.
And premier minister here in Poland, it's woman actually. Yes, it's
great.
Wow.
Great.
So what I understand what Oksana said is, in Poland, it's easier to be a woman and getting into the parliament, and you have a woman prime minister.
Yes.
But basically, the discrimination is like far lesser in Poland. Is that what Oksana said?
I didn't know actually. I can't say it's true or not, because I'm living in Poland just for months. It's 4 months. It's nothing. It's not so long time to analytics all these things. Maybe later I can say something. Yes, it's like this, and like this. Now it's very difficult for me. I'm really sorry.
Oksana, let's find somebody to our program next time from Poland.
Yes. Let's try in Polish language.
Yes, in Polish. It's Polish or English. Let's understand.
Okay. So, I mean, Anu and Deepa, do you want to respond to any of the points?
I think Nancy had a question on the fact that we had a few women leaders and did they make an impact? Is that right, Nancy?
Yeah.
Deepa, do you want to take this question? And
Yeah, so while there is, of course, women in leadership in the government, in the parliament space at the moment in India, the potential to really grow up there is much higher than what is currently being exploited. And I will draw parallel to the Indian corporate scenario once again. We have a law that as per which we need to have one woman on the board of the company, as a mandate. And in spite of that being there, organizations are struggling to really place a woman right there at the top, simply because there is such a dearth of women at the leadership level to move into the board level and the decision making level. And a very similar situation really applies even in the political scenario, where there are some women who are very much in the influential position, but the amount of work that really needs to be done is far more than what it is being done today. And so that's the parallel that we can clearly see, which is there in the scenario today.
I'd also like to add, while we had these, like Indira Gandhi was very powerful, okay, probably more powerful than some of the male leaders that we've had in the country. However, typically what we have seen also, whether even if you look at a corporate, when you have women at very strong leadership positions, there are a lot of dissenting voices also, which kind of, they criticize. They're looking for faults. They're looking for when the woman is going to make a mistake. So many of, so we have other, if you look at states also, there are women chief ministers at strong positions. They've done good work. However, what's large focus is on the fact that they're very aggressive. So typical labeling of women in leaders is that they're very aggressive. Now, the aggression, whether is it aggression, is it assertiveness? They are also, if you look at a political scenario, the number of women is very small. So in India, actually, we've been trying to push a bill which says that, reserve 33% of the seats for women, so that you have a fair representation of women even in the political circle. But that still hasn't. It's been going on for now almost 20 years and nothing has happened on that. So this is the thing, so while they made an impact, but there are a lot of criticism on the kind of leadership skills that they are bringing into the thing. There have been a few unfortunate cases, also where women in leadership have been genuinely been very aggressive. I would just purely put it as maybe in a male-dominated area, how do you break that glass ceiling? How do you break and make your space for yourself? These are, because there were no precedents, there were hardly any role models for women to look up to. And maybe this was just, their way of finding their things. So that's my view on the politics. Have we answered your question, Nancy?
Yes, you have, and it just made me wonder, did they groom other women to take over leadership? Did they?
Sorry, please, can you please repeat that?
Yeah, I'm asking for the women leaders in India. Did they, like the Prime Minister, did she groom other women to also become leaders?
Unfortunately, not.
Women? Okay.
At that point, not, because there weren't so many women in the political. So when she was the Prime Minister, I can't think of anybody who was anywhere in the political circle who was even capable of taking over the baton from her. And we also, as a country, we went through a kind of a dynastic kind of a rule, though a democratic dynastic kind of a rule. So that's a different situation. We won't even get into that area. But no, she didn't. But in corporates, yes, women leaders are consciously nurturing other women leaders to take over. We see a lot of women in leadership position in the financial sector in India. Most of the banks, the private banks, even the public sector banks have women in the topmost leadership position. So they are nurturing, and they in turn, they're moving to other companies and not just within their own organization, but they take on the task of nurturing women even outside of their companies.
Okay, thank you.
And now I am listening to you, and suddenly I raise question. And what we are waiting for sure from women in parliament or government or power, and what we are waiting from them. And now I have this question. It's a strong question for me.
You're asking what are we waiting for them to do?
I don't know.
Why are we waiting
what we are waiting from them?
In fact, I just want to kind of add on to one thing. One of the other trends that I kind of I'm seeing of women in leadership is, they sometimes, do take that extreme aggressive stance. And there is this perception that, women can reach that position only at the, how do I say this, at the cost of having a balanced personal life. And that sort of becomes a deterrent, because even if women want to sort of move to that level, a lot of people want to also lead a balanced life. So one of the messages that over-aggression has also shown is that, to reach that level, you really have to give up a lot of your personal self to be able to reach that level, which is also probably one of the reasons why women are not able to come forward, because a woman has to fight those many more battles to really reach the top level, to get acceptance in her community, to get acceptance in her family, to get acceptance from her team members. So that's one of the things that possibly is a deterrent that stops us.
Okay, what I heard is we are waiting for harmony.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm conscious of the time. It's already 2 o'clock, and I feel like, wow, this is really, we're just getting into the I don't want to say the meat of it, but the heart of the matter. I had more questions really, but maybe that could be a potential future topic, because I'm thinking that, apart from working on obviously women's inclusion, what about other aspects of inclusion? I remember you'd mentioned that in the introduction, that you realised it couldn't just be about gender, but had to be looking at inclusion and diversity in a broader sense. I don't know if you can say a little bit about that, or maybe we keep that for a future topic. I don't know.
Actually, John, I think it may be good to keep it, unless everybody has the time, because if we have questions, the only thing I'd like to, we would like to say is that for the longest time, we looked at diversity and having a certain percentage of women to represent, etc. So we had, like, if I look at the corporate scenario, like Deepa said, there is a certain mandate given to recruitment companies saying that, you must have so many, when you recruit, at least like so many number of positions have to be filled with women candidates. So at entry level, you had a whole lot of them, but in mid-management, they all kind of disappear mostly because of personal reasons. That's the time when the career is really progressing. That's really the time when their personal life is also changing. They're getting married, they're having kids, the whole work-life balance issue comes up, and our society is still not changed so much, where the male members or the spouse, the men contribute equally at home. So the women gets really torn, and then that's when this whole you don't find too many women, and then at the top you have when you have to fill up the top leadership positions, you don't have enough women. So this is where the whole getting more people, the whole focus was there. However, now in the last 5 years, what is the realization which has also come is that you can't just look at numbers. When you only look at numbers or say that certain quota needs to be there, it doesn't drive ownership. So the focus is now slowly shifting with a lot of emphasis on inclusion. That if there is an inclusive environment, then this whole agenda of getting representation of women, people with disabilities, different age perspective, all that is met if we bring in an inclusive environment. So that's the whole And of course, a lot of our
Right,
work is
right.
actually in the inclusion space, and which is why we are called In Harmony. Like Svetlana was saying, looking for harmony. So
Yeah, I said it already. It's a lovely name, and it really sums up what you're about. You know what you're trying to do. So that's wonderful.
thank you.
Okay, I'm going to suggest then if that's my suggestion for maybe for the next week's topic. But maybe what we can do now is just have a final round and just give a comment, and maybe you can see if you're happy with that theme for next week, or if you've got another idea, maybe you can share it. And then I think we'll have to close for the day. Although probably it feels like we could go on for 3-4 hours, you know. But this is the time we've scheduled, unfortunately, or fortunately. So let's start with Svetlana. I'll go the other way around this time.
First of all, I'm happy to see you here and meet you. First, I'm happy that I didn't spend $1,000 for fly to reach you, and it's very cheap resource to meet for meeting and to understand each other. And thank you God that we have this resource first. And next, certainly, I think that this type of conversation very, very useful in this dialogue. And today we dive a little bit deeper. And thank you, John, for this opportunity. And I leave this room with more questions and answers right now. And
interesting. Thank you. Okay. Oksana.
Yes. No, first of all, yeah, it was really very, very interesting for me, actually. And I think I have some questions, yeah, but we don't have time. And maybe these topics is so big, really. And I hope we can continue on next week, maybe later a little bit, because I must think about all this information, and I have some questions here because it's really, for me, it's very interesting. And thank you, everybody, because it was good.
Great, thank you, Oksana. There's nothing to stop you getting in touch. I think we'll make sure everybody's got each other's emails, but I'm sure they're all there. But we'll maybe do a list anyway. Nancy, your comments, please.
Very interesting discussion. Thank you very much. I've learned quite a bit from it, and it's very interesting to know that we have a lot in common. You know, India, Poland, Ukraine, Kenya, when it comes to women and women in leadership.
Yeah.
Maybe I want to suggest that the questions we have, so that we don't forget them for next week, if we can just write them down and send them to the facilitator for next week, so that we cover them next week, we don't lose those points. Yeah, and looking forward to the next session. Thank you.
Okay, thanks Nancy. Sergey, you're next.
Мені дуже все сподобалось.
I liked everything.
Я вас всіх кохаю і
I love you. I love you very much, everybody. I love everybody very much.
Інтернет у Індії дуже прекрасний.
And I like internet connection in India very much also.
Да. Чіткі зображення і HD качество.
It's great quality of picture and HD quality very well.
Дякую всім.
Thank you very much.
За цікаву.
Sergey,
Thank you for
спасибо.
good conversation.
In Polish it's dziękuję bardzo, eh? Okay. Deepa.
Yeah, so for us it was the first one, and very, very fascinating. I think it's been a very interesting session for us to share what is happening back home. And in the next sessions, I'd like to know more from your perspectives, what's happening at your locations. And like Svetlana, you said, I seem to have more questions now about not only India but also about your locations in your countries. And looking forward to an engaging a dialogue between all of us. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Deepa. Thank you. Anu?
So first of all, John, thank you so much for inviting us to be a part of this dialogue. It has been really exciting and very happy to see your interest in India and what we are doing here. Like Deepa said, I have a whole lot of questions which I have for Oksana, Svetlana, John, you and Tracy, Nancy, because we really want to know what's happening in your place. Today, I think we spoke mostly from our, what's happening here, but we want to know, like, what is it that's happening at your end? What is it that you all are doing to, get the inclusion perspective in your respective countries? And yes, and I think very interesting. I wish it was going on for a longer time. We have this topic is never ending, like
Sure.
Oksana said,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
and I
thank
must
you
say,
very much.
I'm very happy in Ochin Radha and Ochin Priyatna.
Great. Спасибо.
Спасибо.
Thank you very much. And without having to ask you, we've heard from both Deepa and Anu that they'll be with us in future. So that's great. Good to have you on board. What I found really inspiring myself today has been just hearing the good examples, and it's something I shared, in the last discussion, that the impression I had, and it was only an impression, is that, there is a lot of progress for women in India, although there's still more needed, but definitely there's a sense of progress, and it's very exciting to hear that and to get more detail from you guys. So that's been really good. And I also got the point that now we much as we all want to keep talking about India, they also want to talk about our countries as well. So I think that's the whole point of this dialogue, that we we continue to learn from each other, and it's been really great. There was another point I wanted to highlight. I love this comment about when there's more diversity, there's more creativity, and that's a very powerful argument, as well as the economic one. And earlier today I was with another colleague, another Nancy as it happens, and we were looking at a training program, and she was talking about when she first did this training herself, and she said what made it really special was that there were people from all kinds of different nationalities, different kind of educational backgrounds, different races, different ages, and I was thinking back to that particular group, and it's true, there was a really incredible range of people in that group, and she said that she got so much more out of that than she would have done if everybody had been more like her, if you like, and I think that's a brilliant point. We should keep highlighting these arguments and using them in our work, because this world is becoming more complex and more diverse, and not only do we have to live with it, but we have to make the best we can of it, and make it work in a way for our communities, our societies, and for everybody. So long live, I can say Zindabad, our dialogues. Long live the dialogues, because this is a wonderful experience, and I'm just very happy we're doing it. So I think it's probably time to close and say goodbye, but thank you all very much.
I want to add one comment. I want to add one comment that
please,
yesterday I had message from a lady from Taiwan, and maybe she will with us next time also.
Oh, nice.
Oh, fantastic!
Yes, and maybe what the dynamic now I understand in our conversations that it seems like we are moving on to one main question. For example, what we can do together to develop women empowerment in the world, or something like that. And we can provide virtual facilitation. We can use virtual sticky wall and provide this. We can spend 2 hours and find answers for this question, and maybe it will be a good example for other groups who work online how to be resultative. And next time, one of the idea is maybe we can create 3-5 slides, like presentation, small presentation about each country, and we can share these 5 slides with each other, and we ask Media IC to help us to show this presentation on the screen, and we can do it. I think it will be useful for all of us.
That sounds very good, yeah. Do we need, just a quick question around that, do we need then to send them in before, or do we just prepare them and show them at the time?
And let's make communication by email and make decision for form which we want to meet the next time.
Oh, how to do it. Okay, that sounds.
Yeah. And thank
the squeaky wall idea sounds good. I think we can be doing that in a few weeks, but it's a very good idea. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Wow. Okay, shukriya, asanti, spasibo.
Asanti, spasibo.
And let's talk some more next week.
Okay.
Yes.
See you next
week.
week.
Have a great
Bye.
week. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
До свидания.
Thank you.
До свидания.
Bye.